Hi, let's start learning the multiplication table. Now, older students have trouble learning the multiplication table and they are somewhat overwhelmed by how much there appears that you need to learn. Now, if you're an older student, when you are learning the multiplication table, there is a way to make it easier. You can learn the 0 times table first because any number multiplied by 0 equals 0. 0 times 0, 0. 0 times 1, 0. 0 times 2, 0. 0 times 3, 0. You get the idea? Anything multiplied by 0 equals 0. So once you know that and accept that as a rule, you can remove it from the table. Next, let's look at the ones and times table. Anything multiplied by 1 equals itself. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 7 is 7. So anything multiplied by 1 equals itself. So now you have learnt that. Let's remove that from the table. See how easy learning the multiplication table is when there are some rules that you can apply? The next step is to remove the 10 times table. Why? When you multiply a number by 10, you are simply adding a 0. And that's the very easiest thing to remember. 1 times 10 is 10, which is a 1 with a 0. 2 times 10 is 20, which is a 2 with a 0. 3 times 10 is 30, 3 with a 0. 4 times 10 is 40. You can also apply this when you multiply numbers like 10 times 10. 10 times 10 is 10 with a 0, 100. 20 times 10 is 20 with a 0, 200. 30 times 10 is 300, which is 30 with a 0. It applies to all numbers. When you multiply by 10, just add a 0. 11 times 10 is 11 with a 0, 110. 12 times 10 is 12 with a 0, 120. 13 times 10 is 130, which is 13 with a 0. So just apply that rule. When you multiply by 10, add a 0. So let's remove the 10 times table because it is easy to learn. Now, what is next? Can you count in twos? Of course you can. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. When you multiply by twos, you're counting in twos. Now that sounds easy enough, but an easy way to do it is you can use your fingers of your hands. You know there are 5 fingers on your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can count in twos. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, which means that 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 2 is 8. 5 times 2 is 10. And you can do this all the way up to 20. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. 2 times 9 is 18. Let's remove the 2 times table because honestly, it's really quite easy to learn. Will there be anything else left to learn? If you can count in twos, how about the 5s? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. Can you count in 5s on your fingers? Of course you can. So if you can count in 5s on your fingers, just as you did with the 2s, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, you can see that 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 5 is 25. You can count in 5s, and therefore you have the multiplication table on your fingers for the 5 times table up to 50. If you can count in 5s, then you know the 5 times table. So let's remove it. Make them disappear from the multiplication table. That leaves less than half of the original multiplication table. But we're not finished yet. We can remove half of these numbers because 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 3 is also 12. 3 times 8 is 24, and 8 times 3 is 24. The numbers when multiplied can be swapped around. 3 and 4, 4 and 3. 3 and 8, 8 and 3. They equal the same numbers. So you see, 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 3 is 12. 6 times 8 is 48. And 8 times 6 is 48. There's a lot of doubling up in the multiplication table. In fact, on this side of the line, it's the same as on this side of the line. So let's remove those numbers on this side of the line to save that doubling up. What has that left to learn? You should learn these for the 3 times table. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 7, 21. 3 times 8, 24. 3 times 9, 27. Write down these and then learn them. You should also learn these for the 4 times table. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times 8, 32. 4 times 9, 36. Write these down and learn them. You should also learn these for the 6 times table. Now there's only 4 of these. 6 times 6, 36. 6 times 7, 42. 6 times 8, 48. 6 times 9, 54. You should also learn these for the 7 times table. 7 times 7, 49. 7 times 8, 56. 7 times 9, 63. Write these down, learn them. You should also learn these for the 8 times table. 8 times 8, 64. 8 times 9, 72. And for the 9 times table, 9 times 9 is 81. Now, as you can see, there is a simpler way to learn the multiplication table, and we'll go over that once more time quite quickly. So when you're learning the multiplication table, realize that you really only have to learn half of this because one side is the same as the other side because of the 3 times 2 is the same as 2 times 3. So we only have to learn half of what you see. Then learn the zeros times table because anything multiplied by 0 is 0. Learn that first. Learn the 1 times table because anything multiplied by 1 is itself. So learn that second. Then understand that anything multiplied by 10, you just add a 0. So learn the 10 times table next by simply adding a 0. The fourth thing to learn is the 2 times table. Now you can write these down and learn them, or you can use your fingers to count on them, to count up by 2s. Then you learn the 5 times table the same way as you learned the 2 times table. You can write these down and learn them, or use your fingers and understand that it's just counting in 5s. Now, learn these 3 times table. It will be the hardest to learn because it has the most you must learn. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5, 15. 3 times 6, 18. 3 times 7, 21. 3 times 8, 24. 3 times 9, 27. So write these down and learn them. Next is the 4 times table. Write these numbers down and learn them. You see, you're getting to learn less each time. It's just the way that we're at learning the multiplication table because of the double up method when you go to learn them. 4 times table, 4 times 4, 16. 4 times 5, 20. 4 times 6, 24. 4 times 7, 28. 4 times 8, 32. 4 times 9, 36. Now it's getting easier because you only have to learn 4 of the 6 times table. Just know what 6 times 6 is, what 6 times 7 is, what 6 times 8 is, and what 6 times 9 is. There are only 3 to learn in the 7 times table because you have learned all the others before. You only have to learn 7 times 7 is 49, 7 times 8 is 56, and 7 times 9 is 63. Write these down and learn them. Only 2 to learn in the 8 times table because everything else has been learnt before. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 9 is 72. That finally is just one to learn from the 9 times table. And I guarantee you probably already know this. 9 times 9 is 81. Now, we learnt it this way because we are removing the duplication. But it does require you to understand the concept of 3 times 4 being the same as 4 times 3. Okay, that's the multiplication table, made easy.